My name is Eliot Mack. I'm the founder and CEO of Lightcraft technology. We actually started almost 20 years ago. And my background is originally robotics. If you've been chased by a robot, probably one of mine. So I designed the original iRobot Roomba. And so at some point, I got tired of chasing dust bunnies and got interested in motion picture work and started Lightcraft technology almost 20 years ago. And we wanted to solve camera tracking. We built big systems, worked on Once Upon a Time, Pan Am, V, all these sorts of things. And we figured out how to handle episodic pipelines. But at that point, we're working in production. And we're working with big, expensive tools. And it's heavy, hard, kind of a pain in the neck. And we realized what we really want to do is come in on the early start of things, in the conceptual, where you figure it out, like what is the idea behind the movie. And I started working with Bill Warner about 5 years ago. Bill Warner is my co-founder, who founded Avid. So he's the fellow that drop kicked the world into digital post-production. And we started to realize some really fascinating things. One of them around then was that the iPhones can track. And we'd been building our own super expensive, markers in the ceiling, big, six-figure devices. And we realized, wait a second, this iPhone can start to track. And it can figure out, in visual effects, what you need to learn is where's the camera? That's the core problem. And we realized we can track in the iPhone. That means we can actually bring virtual production everywhere. We're not just stuck in the post-production, like on-set side. We can go to the conceptual side. And so that triggered out lots of things. In the show, what we're showing is a number of things that lead us from onset, from the preview, earliest stages, to the onset, to post-production. But one of the key things coming in is now we can render Gaussian splats. So this, what you're seeing here, is a 3D Gaussian splat of part of Rome. And this is the project we did with Roberto Schaefer, ASC, where he was working on a short film set in Italy. And we realized we could send him to Italy with an X-Grid scanner in carry-on, and he could walk around, scan this whole location, and bring it back in 3D. And so it's not just a 2D image plate. This is actually a full 3D representation of this part of, I'll let you move along with it, of this part of Italy. And so we can actually go around, and we have, by default, we're using AI mats to extract the people on the show floor, so you can see people walking around that portion of Italy. And the AI mats are a little choppy. In production, as you'll see later, we'll use a green screen to get a good key. But it lets us look at how a movie's going to come together. Lets us pre-plan it and basically pre-shoot it and do something that we're actually calling story hacking. Because we think people are going to do this and shoot a movie before they actually shoot the movie. It's so fast to do this, and then you know if you've got it. And we actually have an example of a project with Harold Zwart called Queens. And it's an animated film, but Harold is a very experienced live action director. And he told his team, I don't want to spend 2 years doing storyboards. Like, find me the new technology that lets me do this. They found Jetset, and they were able to actually create a whole new process they call reference capture to go through and pre-shoot an animated movie with actors in real time and then take it into post-production. So we're seeing this new first phase of basically story hacking to find out what you're going to do, to how you're going to tell your story. And it's really exciting because it's a very new area. Well, but once you've figured out your movie, now we have to go into production. And so we still are using a phone, but now we're going to hook up to a cine camera, and we'll move over to here. So we started off in the preview, story hacking, the story planning phase of this. And now we want to move to on-set, to actual production. So we actually use the same Jetset app. This version is Jetset Cine. This lets us connect up to a production camera. So this is a red Komodo, but we can connect to basically any production camera. We're using an Axoon CMO. So we're in the Axoon booth because Axoon built this magical device that works as a capture card for the iPhone. And so we can take the live red feed, put it into the CMO, and then finally into Jetset, where we can calibrate the camera optics and the cine lens, track, composite, and render our heroic cowboy actor in real time in a Wild West scene. Now, this is designed so that you can actually shoot this, and the real-time view is a proxy. We call it a super daily, but it is time code matched to the camera originals that are in the red, so we can later take this into post-production. You give this to the editor, and you give this to the VFX people, and that way you can put together your whole movie. And so this lets us actually do a complete virtual production project. We're in a phone. There's no overhead targets. There's no giant brain bar. There's no rack of systems. There's no line of people behind the back. It's all running inside the phone. Complete real-time virtual production. And we're on a green screen stage inside. We can just as easily take this to an exterior. There's no batteries. I mean, we have a cable plugged in over here just to keep it running, but we can actually operate completely wirelessly, on location. So in addition to the real-time onset aspects of it, we can actually connect to Ximetry as well. So if you want to have a really high-quality broadcast level keyer, we can now connect up to Ximetry, both their free version and their broadcast and pro versions. So which is really exciting. Some teams want to be able to do a record live-to-tape workflow with a high-quality broadcast keyer and a tracked Unreal scene, and Ximetry is great for that. So we have all these different ways of working, but the most important thing is, what do people do with this? And so the exciting part here is to see the projects that people have made with this. And so here at the show, we have multiple projects going on. We have one of our creators named Alden Peters is also at the show. He's over at the other booth in the West Hall. And so he created an entire sci-fi series called Tidbits and Bytes, set in a futuristic sci-fi world of his own creation. Now, traditionally, this would take years and people and huge teams to do this. He was able to do this project in this small little green screen stage. There are 5 people on set at this point. This is all the compute that was in the scene. There's no giant brain bar behind the scenes. And he was able to create these elaborate, complex backdrops digitally using Jetset to do virtual production. And so he's able to actually do a vision, realize his own vision. And Joshua Kerr is also, has just stepped out, but he's also here as well. He's a UK-based filmmaker who created this short film called Treasure of the Mummy. And where it's a whole fun, run through an Egyptian tomb, and it tells a wonderful little story about the things that you need and the things you can give away. This was all created in a set, green screen stage, smaller than this, right? All of these shots were created. He created this in his upstairs bedroom, right? And so this is so exciting to see what these different creators are now doing, because we've removed all the other things that people think are necessary for virtual production. If you've got an LED wall, great. They're $45,000 a day to run. Whereas you can make and tell your story with these ultra lightweight systems. And most recently, we just had this come in yesterday, where Navaz and Roman Bowling created a short film called, this is a trailer for it, called Avalanche, and set during the Hoth battle. But this is wild to see this group of people telling this story. The most unusual thing is, see the behind the scenes. This is how they were shooting with Jetset, and this is what they were able to create. So that is the world's worst green screen. I defy you to find a worse green screen than that. But since they were using Jetset, they actually shot this a week ago, on Tuesday, and they were able to put together all these pieces of this in the course of a week. So they're able to go very, very, very fast in the terms of creation of this. And I think this is one of these things, people don't understand how fast really good teams of creators, of these kind of full stack creators. They're not pipeline, they're not siloed, they're not locked in their own areas. They see how to put it all together. These teams are going to remake the industry. And so it's just really exciting to be able to be a part of that and to see what they're doing. For more information, definitely you can scan this QR code and go to lightcraft.pro, and you can download the Jetset app there.